Okay. Good evening. Good evening. This is your boy, Father Icon Father Reno Prestige, founder, CEO, sole proprietor of the House of Prestige LLC. I'm checking in with you all tonight. I'm going to make a targeted and purposeful effort to reestablish myself on the social media platform because I decided to take a break back, as most people or call themselves activists were increasing their social media presence. And I really felt the need to be more hands on and boots to the ground type of person with my advocacy efforts. As many of you may know from some of the messages that I put out on my Facebook page, I currently have been extended a wonderful opportunity to contract and work with the PHMC organization, which is a division of the AIDS Activities Coordinating Office, Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disabilities, and Philadelphia Department of Public Health. And so I'm grateful for those opportunities, but as you can well imagine, it keeps me extremely busy and unable to be the media presence that I want. But and I learned something from a young man in my house. And big shout out to the iconic House of Prestige in the Barbara community, and a big shout out to the young man who actually, gave me some words of wisdom. And no matter how long and how old you are, you can never be too old to learn something, especially from a young buck. They tell us in the rooms that a person with one day can help, a person with 2 days can help somebody with one day, and a person with one day can learn something from somebody with two. So it doesn't matter that I've been in this game for over 20 something years, 20, almost 28 years, as a matter of fact. That doesn't even matter. I still can learn something. And so I want to thank you, Sonny Versace, um, for your words of wisdom. Because the thing that he said to me was this: if you stop talking, nobody's going to hear the right message. If I stop talking, nobody's going to hear the message. So even if I talk and only a few people hear the message, if I don't talk, nobody's going to hear the message. And one is better than none. So thank you for that, Sonny Versace. You kind of like pull my coattails, and I am human, so I get discouraged too. And things that I have been troubling me and causing me gray hair and a little anxiety range from our local political arena here in the city of Philadelphia, all the way up to the nation's capital, and the just the plain idiot that Donald Trump is in the White House. He's just being a fool, and God protects fools and babies. But let me deal with the things that I have direct influence on. Currently going on in the city of Philadelphia, the House of Prestige LLC, myself, and in collaboration with Women in Transition, PHMC, Nicetown Community Development Center, Southwest New Stop, both locations, 1609 Popular Street and 5600 Woodland, as well as the Martin Luther King Recreation Center. These agencies, and new a new relationship with Why Not Prosper, the Women in Transition program, Why Not Prosper, Women in Transitions, and I said ACO, AIDS Activities Coordinator. Anyway, so what is in Philadelphia Fight, of course, an engagement of color. So what we're doing here in Philadelphia, these agencies, we are building this network, and we are building our fishnet. So that, and when I'm saying a fishnet, I'm using that as a metaphor to kind of like put things in perspective as what we are trying to do as organizations and concerned citizens and stakeholders. We are trying We are putting things in motion. We are running programs. We are out on the streets talking to people. We are opening up the hours of operations and extending the hours and doing whatever we can to engage and talk to and see and listen to as many people as we can and the various populations that we serve to try to come up with a solution for the problems that are facing Philadelphia residents as we speak. Violence is out of control. Discrimination is getting out of hand. Degradation is at an all-time high. We need to address, and faith in our leaders and authority figures in legislation is at an all-time low. An all-time low. We are even in as we fight against like things that are greater than how we interact with one another and greater than social determinants, as we fight against prejudice against AIDS, people with mental health diseases or challenges, people coming home from prison. As we fight these things, institutionalized racism, a crooked criminal justice system, these things are bigger than just how we interact with one another. These are institutions and systems that have been in place for almost as long as this country. Because when they established this country, these institutions and systems were established in other countries and abused when we came here. But I have to try to focus on the city of Philadelphia. And I'm going to do my best to stay focused just on what's going on right here among us and not so much as the bigger picture of what's going on and how it affects the country and how it affects the state, how it affects the country, and how it affects the nation and the world. I'm going to do my best to keep it focused. Everything is related, though. Everything, whether you want to believe it or not. What we do here in the corner of North Philadelphia has an effect. It does have an effect in what happens in Washington, D.C., whether you believe it or not. And what happens in Washington, D.C. in this country has an effect in what happens at other countries. Whether you believe it or not, it is true. I digress. What I wanted to talk about was our legislatures in Philadelphia. We're fighting so many things. We're going to always be fighting so many things. It's not going to stop. If we talking about not fighting again, you stop fighting when you lay down and die. That's when you're going to stop fighting. There's always going to be some type of social injustice or injustice or civil right or some kind of malfeasance or injustice of some kind that we're going to be fighting against. Somebody's going to always do something wrong. Whether it's person to person, race to race, family to family, rich people to poor people, English speaking to non-English speaking, whatever. We could point about differences all day and all night if that's what we want to do. If we want to continue to point out differences, we can do that all day and all night. If we want to talk about solutions, and if we want to talk about similarities, and if we want to talk about bringing our people together and our communities together, then we need to talk about that. And we can talk about that all day and all night. I want to change the conversation. As you can see, I'm more not about talking about differences. I want to talk about the things that bring us together. I want to talk about the things that unify us. I want to talk about the things that uplift us and bring us closer together so that we can enlighten one another and grow together, right? And evolve, right? That's what I want to talk about. So let me talk about the things that I am involved in, which that I'm personally involved in, which are steps, prerequisites towards that goal. The first thing that I'm involved in, or one of the things that I'm involved in, as you know, we were deeply involved in spreading the word and raising awareness about the HIV prevention research that was being conducted at the University of Pennsylvania. We got involved and we represented, and when I say we, I mean Dials of Prestige LLC, as well as the All About Family social support group. for women who have sex with women. And we got involved and we participated in some events and some focus groups. And we actually lent our time and our expertise to help the researchers with the information that they needed. So that was one of the things that accompanied with the current project that we're working with now with the Public Health Management Corporation, the Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disabilities, and the Department of Public Health and Community Behavioral Health. All of these agencies and funding agencies and city-run agencies, um, we are in the process now of preparing for the next phase of research. The next phase of research is going for transgender women and people who identify as gender nonconforming that are male born. Okay, so we're talking about transgender women, non-binary, people who identify as non-binary, people who identify as intersex, or people who identify as gender nonconforming, wherever that spectrum may lead you. We're researching those, and I'm going to tell you why. The University of Penn is taking information for the WSW population currently, as far as doing research and trying to identify some behaviors and some new prevention methods and medications. That's the University of Pennsylvania. The City of Philadelphia, through the AIDS Activities Coordinating Offices, uh, the Public Health Management Corporation, and the Department of Behavioral Health and Intellectual Disabilities, is currently conducting this research. We are almost ready to launch, actually, um, as we are preparing for this summertime launch and research. We're going to engage the community. We're going to try to get, at a minimum, 200 transgender women or gender nonconforming people who are born male to start. At the same time, there's going to be research for the heterosexual population, people who identify as heterosexual. That includes cisgendered men and cisgender women. And we are also, at the same time, going to do a separate research study for transgender uh, men or people who are gender nonconforming who were born female. So there are going to be 3 different types of studies going on. The reason why we got to do all of this separate, because nationally, the information that they have, and you all know they've recently started doing more research as far as HIV prevention and treatment, and even mental health treatment and management with the MSM population, intravenous drug users, heterosexual people. All right. But the information previously collected was false or flawed because the populations that they tested lumped MSMs and transgender women together. And there weren't even any room for gender nonconforming people or intersex people or people who were born male but identify otherwise. So they lumped all of that together, which falsified and contaminated the information. Now they've separated it. They've separated the information. So when we do this research this time, you're going to have a chance to represent in your population. You're not going to be plugged in with some other population, and we're going to be very thorough with identifying the various populations that we're going to be testing so that we can get an accurate count of this information. And the reason why is this. If we are going to cure HIV within the next 10 years, which is the national goal, first we have to start with the populations that have been identified nationally as those of having the highest risk. Those populations still include MSM, men who have sex with men, whether they identify as homosexual or not, men who have sex with men, heterosexual identified people, and people with um, intravenous drug use challenges. Okay. Now, when you talk about, I'm sorry, I said intravenous drug use, not necessarily drugs, uh, uh, needles, intravenous needle sharing, needle users, people who use needles. How does that break down? And I can't go into breaking down everything, but I do want to get you guys informed. Okay, men who have sex with men includes people who don't identify as homosexual or bisexual, because because the reality is, it's a real social reality that when some men are incarcerated and they engage in sex with other men, they don't consider themselves to be engaging in homosexual activity, because those men that are on the receiving end may not identify as men. It's all about perception. So we're going to talk about men who have sex with men, whether you are gay, bisexual, down low, or straight in a certain situation, post incarcerated, incarcerated, however, or gay for pay, like all of those subcategories. We're going to talk about the gender nonconforming. We're going to separate that to trans women and women who were born male but don't identify as male. Maybe you don't succumb to one gender or another. Maybe you are an intersex person. We got a category for that. See, we have to break all of these different categories down so we don't contaminate the information that we get when we talk about social determinants. We're talking about behaviors. We're talking about HIV prevention, and we're talking about making you aware of how you change your behavior so that you can prevent this disease from spreading. Like researchers get, and that's what it's called. Research is meticulous and it's detailed. Now, on the other hand, when you talk about the WSW populations, the women who have sex with women, same situation. You not may not necessarily be a lesbian. You may be incarcerated. You may be on drugs. You may just be having sex with a woman because uh, it's some type of exchange or sex work, or you're going to get something out of it. Whether you're feeding a habit, whether you gave for stay, whatever the situation may be, you got too much drunk. You just was curious. Whatever the situation may be, and you don't necessarily identify as a lesbian or a woman. Actually, if you are a female born person and you identify as a gender non-conforming, you identify as a transgender male, you will not be lumped into the WSW population, because we are looking at you to test whether or not, or how much of a woman you are. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for information on your practices, your behavioral practices that may or may not put you at high risk of catching HIV. And the fact of the matter is, nobody want to talk about it. But in the female to male population, the information can get a little screwed and it can get skewed. But you do qualify, you female to male, the female to male trans man population, you do qualify, or is being considered as people who use needle because of the hormone injection. And I know for a fact that sometimes those of us who engage in hormone therapy, some of those of some of us may not, and I'm saying us, some of us may not have the medical coverage to go out and get our own prescriptions for hormones. So we'll go to someone else and buy the hormones black market. Of course, you buy the hormones black market. If the male to females can do it, so can the females to male. So you buy the hormones black market, using that needle and those needles and dealing with not getting medically charged uh, needles, and you can share it. It can be improperly used. All of those things increase your risk of HIV. I'll be here forever if I try to break down all of the other the risk factors. But one thing that is a real thing that we are looking at, the researchers are really looking at, is the fact that when it comes down to sexual practices, females to males engage. It doesn't matter how you identify, but females to males who identify as gay having a gay sexual orientation. So if you're a female born individual, whether you identify as a male and you engage in sexual activities with another cisgender male, whether he identifies as straight, whether he identifies as gay, bisexual, or whatever, that puts you at a higher risk. So these are the things that we are talking about. We are talking about behaviors. If you sharing hormones and you sharing needles because you getting hormones from this person and they pumping you, taking that same needle and pumping somebody else, you at a risk. If you using drugs and you shooting up heroin or something or opioids or whatever, you at a risk. If you having sexual risky sexual behaviors, unprotected sex with a cisgender male, you at a risk. Whether you have an unprotected sex with a transgender woman, you at a risk. So it used to be there's a myth that I want to bust up with this announcement right now that women who sleep with women or WSW populations or female to male trans men are at a low risk of contracting HIV. That myth is wrong. It's been busted, and it's been busted because of the sexual practices that we've been engaging in lately. The research shows that with the HIV transmission that is popping up in the trans male population, that the behaviors that you're not reporting are showing up anyway in the data. So we have to control, not control, but we have to identify what are the modes of transmission and what are the practices that put us at risk and increase our risk of catching this HIV disease. Luckily, we have the medications. We have Truvada right now. We have Epileza right now. We have 20-minute HIV tests. We have things that can be put into motion to help us catch this disease, catch the disease while it's inside someone's body before they can it can deteriorate their immune system. We can stop it. HIV medications or antiretroviral medications um, can stop or interfere with the life cycle of HIV at any point. At any point. So the more we know, the earlier you get tested, and the earlier we find out whether you're infected or whether you're not infected, we can do something about it to change and help you live longer. That's basically what this is all about. It's not about judging anybody and what you do and who you do it with. We don't care. All we want to do is try to catch this disease and stop it from spreading. So I had to put that out there because that's what the type of thing that we are involved in right now with the House of Prestige. Like this is some deep stuff, and we are in the process of learning everything that we need to learn so that we can get out here and be effective. Hopefully, we'll be able to get started by July 1st. That is my hope and that is my prayer, and hopefully, we'll be able to exceed the numbers that we're looking for as far as target sample populations or sample numbers so that we can make a meaningful contribution from the information that we collect here. Um, so that's one of the things. The other thing we so that medical thing, keep a lookout, you guys. I'm going to be doing more recordings, and if you guys want to tune in and you want to talk to me about it, you know my information, you know my number, my email. Um, you can hit me up with a question on here. You can hit me up with a question on any of my social medias, and I'll be happy to talk to you about it. And maybe once I get through with all of this test and get a better idea of what my schedule is going to be like, I'll be able to announce when I'll be up, and we can have a live chat about some of these things because I'm sure that people may have questions, and we can just take care of it right here and right now. The main deal is to go get tested, and once you find out what your status is, take your precautions from there. Either you're going to engage in prevention regimens or you're going to engage in a treatment regimen. Either one, but either way, there are ways that you can save your life seriously without whether you have HIV or whether you don't. There are other ways that you can go, other paths that you can take to extend your life to keep you from spreading the disease or it being spread to you. So that's what we're looking for. Um, as far as the political stuff that's going on in the city, I'm very sad. I'm very saddened to learn that my good friend Amber Heights is no longer with the city of Philadelphia running the Office of LGBT Affairs. That took a blow, but as with all good people who do their job, she's been elevated. She's been seen and she's been elevated. So I'm not mad at her for being able to go from the city level to the state level. I'm very happy for her. Congratulations, Amber. I look forward to working with you um, on the next level that you are, as I intend to elevate myself as well, at being involved with these projects. The other thing is now that we don't have Amber at the realm of LGBT affairs, we have to figure out who's going to replace her. We have to find somebody that we feel confident in, that is qualified and trusted to carry the torch and continue to move us forward in this city. We have a lot of things that we are fighting. The criminal justice system is one, mental health services is two, reentry services is three, and of course, well, not in that order, but HIV transmission detection and prevention. Yes, we have other issues, other extenuating issues: housing, job readiness, literacy, poverty. Yes, we do. But right now, before we can talk about making a life better, how about we talk about just saving the lives? How about we get a closer hand on that? Racism. Racism is alive and well. We all know it. Philadelphia, even though it's called the city of brotherly love, is one of the most segregated cities in major cities in the United States. We all know that. If you don't know that, where have you been? Like I say, I put it out in a announcement that I made yesterday. We have to stand up, and if we don't stand up, then move out the way and let somebody else stand up. Here's my thing: I don't have a problem with somebody that doesn't want to stand up and doesn't want to do the work. I, I I I understand that not everybody has it in them to be at the forefront of major events. Not everybody has it in them to um, handle pressure. Not everybody has it in them to work hard. Not everybody has it in them to be concerned with the greater good. Not everybody has it in them. Not everybody cares. And you know what? I have to learn that that is okay. Um, hey, what's going on, Eric? I didn't even see you up there. But how you doing, baby? I have to learn to accept that, and that's one of my flaws. To not be so judgmental of people that don't have the tenacity to do the things that I do. So I will do my best to not be as human as I am when it comes to these things. But if you can't stand up, right? And maybe I learned this from my grandfather because he is a three-time Purple Heart winner, Medal of Valor winner, and his part in the Korean War. If you cannot stand up, then when you lay down so that someone can stand on up on you. In other words, if I can't stand up and fight for myself, when I've been down, I'm gonna lift the other person up on my back. At least step on me to step over, like to sacrifice myself for the greater good. If I'm gonna lay down, if I'm gonna lay down, let my lay down be a sacrifice so somebody else can stand up on top, right? And my grandfather taught me that about self-sacrifice, about teamwork, about learning about the greater good. And I realized that everybody didn't have a grandfather. Everybody didn't have a father. There's nothing that I can do about that. The only thing that I can do is try to be the best example of who my grandfather was, who my grandparents were, and what they instilled in me, and try to emulate that to the best of my ability in the community that I live in today. Um, I'll be here all day, and you'll be here all day if we start talking about the bad things, if we start talking about the ridiculousness of the White House, if we start talking about the cowardice of the legislature here in Philadelphia, if we start talking about the way that um, politicians, including the current mayor, and it's not just him, it's other mayors before him too. If we start talking about how politicians and city council members are sitting on their asses and not doing anything, I got more respect for Tom Wolf because at least he's trying to do something, right? At least he's trying to do something. He's making strides. He's demonstrated without a doubt how he feels in his policies and the things that he's getting done. I cannot say the same for local leaders. I cannot say the same. I happen to think Mayor Kenny is personally, I happen to think he's a pimp and he's pimping out the city. And he's selling the city off section by section to the highest bidder. And as far as the gentrification, I got to be honest with you, I can't even get mad because if we don't fight for our own neighborhoods, who's going to fight for us? And those members that we have, not all, because some city council members are I'm friendly with. But many of the members that we have on city council, the majority of the members that we have on city council don't care about the communities that they represent. They only care about their budgets and their shiny cars. And if you go around the city in these various neighborhoods and you look up who the city council representatives for these districts are supposed to be, you will find that there is a lot of more than average of dilapidation and degradation, meaning the abandoned houses, the dirty streets, the lots, the junk sites, all of those things, the lost businesses, and all of these things are happening in many of our neighborhoods. So it's not just a section of North Philly, and it's not just a section of South Philly, and it's not just Cobb's Creeks, it's majority of the city. So that means the majority of people in city council aren't doing enough to represent the neighborhoods that they're supposed to. If we had a strong city council, we would have a strong city. But I digress on that too. My concern is where I'm going to focus my concern, because I'm concerned about a lot of things. But where I'm going to focus my concern is on this research. Because right now, I started with this research in 97 and it's 2019 and the city is finally doing something. The city and the state is finally doing something to help us get a better grasp of the information so that we can take that false information that they write about in the research, and we can add the real truth to the information, and account for the populations that actually live in this city and the people that actually live in the city. But it takes for us to get involved, and it takes for us to tell the truth about what we do and who we do, right? Not that anybody cares, but because it affects the research. Now, here's one big thing about this information in HIV prevention research that you may not know. When we bring out the pills like the Truvada and Prep and Epilzer, or if I'm definitely saying that name wrong. I know I am, but if we think about how these medicines came to be, and if we think about the things that they affect, what does the immune system attack? The parts of the body that the immune system, um, the parts of the body that HIV attacks is the immune system. What does the immune system do? What is the function of it? The function of the immune system is to make sure when you get a cold or when you get a germ or when something enters your body that's not supposed to be there, you're strong enough to fight it off. That includes your bone marrow. It includes various organs. It includes your blood vessels, the things underneath your skin. All right. If you know anything about anatomy, you'll see how important this is. HIV is a virus that is going to fight the protector that God put inside your body. It's going to break it down. It's going to make it weak. And there are various ways that it can do that. There are various things that it attacks. And we have it down to a science that we know exactly where it attacks, how it attacks, how long it takes to attack, what you need to do to counter the attack, and all of that. So if you knew somebody was going to break you down from the inside out, if you knew your enemy was going to break you down from the inside out, and there was a way for you to prevent that breakdown from happening, why wouldn't you break it down? Whether you have the disease or not, the disease is out there. The enemy is out there. You don't know where it's going to come from. You don't know how you're going to get it, when you're going to get it, if you're going to get it, right? But if I know that I'm doing this, that, and the third, and this, that, and the third, that behaviors that I participate in are dangerous or are putting me at risk of getting that enemy, and I don't know when it's coming, and I don't know which way it's coming, but I know it's out there, then why wouldn't I? It would make perfect sense for me to go out and get the thing that can help me keep my immune system and keep my protective barrier strong enough so that no matter if I get it, when I get it, or how I get it, I'm strong enough to fight it. That's what this HIV research is about. When you talk about what's available right now, HIV, the first thing is it attacks the blood. It attacks the immune system through the blood. And it breaks down the various cells inside the blood. I'm not going to give you a whole HIV. We can do a whole presentation on that later. But so then I need something that's going to fortify my blood. And I need something that's going to fortify my bone marrow. And I need something that's going to fortify my organs, right? So that's what these medications are. The things that interfere with something that is detrimental is this blood. Let's just say the blood. The things that interfere with it. Am I using drugs? Because if you don't know, drugs thin out your blood. Use of drugs thin out your blood. It weakens your ability to protect yourself, period. Make good decisions. You're vulnerable. Okay? Excessive use of drugs or long term use of drugs breaks your system down. You're weak on the inside and you can't fight these things. If I take um, foreign substances like hormones, it changes, it mutates, it redefines the way my blood is. So I need to know that if I'm taking hormones, how does it affect my blood? If I'm doing drugs, how does it affect my blood? If I catch some type of sickness or cold or infection, how does it affect my blood? Because all of that has to do with whether or not I'm going to have the ability to fight off an HIV infection, which I know is coming from my blood. So I don't know. I'm putting these things out here, and I know I'm jumping from topic to topic, but there are so many things that we are dealing with at this time. And I just kind of like wanted to start to put the messages back out there because, again, like my boss said, if I don't say nothing, then the message ain't gonna get heard. So whether people are paying attention to it or not, I did my part, which was put it out there. Knowledge is supposed to be shared freely. Knowledge is not supposed to be held for ransom. Knowledge is not supposed to be sold. Knowledge is supposed to be shared freely. So that's what I'm trying to do. Share it as much as I can. I'm not going to do it on a regular basis. I'm not even going to pretend like I can. Um, but I'd rather you get some real informed, factual information than a bunch of knuckleheads that haven't been trained, that don't know what they're supposed to be talking about. And even if you do listen to the sensationalism, because there's a place for sensationalism as well. But just know that when you get information from Reno Prestige and the House of Prestige LLC, you're getting factual information. When I say it's going to be fact, you're getting good information that can be verified with a little bit of research. So take some time and invest in yourself. Um, think about what I said, protecting yourself, and get ready, y'all. Now is the time for preparedness. I honestly believe we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared to fight this HIV disease because we are trying to end it. We have to be prepared to stand up for our own. We have to be prepared to uh, 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 administer and manage our own survival, right? And lastly, before I go, speaking of survival, I mentioned it in my other address, Facebook address. But if you didn't know, um, so Pennsylvania is um, is eliminating the general assistance program as far as the Department of Public Welfare. The date that it goes into effect is August the 1st, 2019. What that means is those recipients who were um, receiving 102.50 every 2 weeks is being cut. You will no longer receive 102.50 every 2 weeks. And the 192 that you was getting in food stamps, that's going to get cut as well. It's not going to be cut completely. The Republicans are trying to push that the monetary benefits of 102, of 192 per person be cut into a care package box. So instead of getting $192 on EBT benefits um, for you to eat for a month, you will get a box of prepackaged foods for you to make stretch for a month. That is the plan. That is the Republican plan for welfare reform. So August the 1st, this goes into effect. It's going to be detrimental as far as survival. It's going to be detrimental as far as crime. Crime is going to increase. And I'm letting you know right now, in my opinion, cutting off. Let me explain to you what that means as far as numbers. In Pennsylvania, by cutting general assistance, that cuts 11,000 people. Uh, 11,000 people off of the general assistance program will no longer be receiving benefits. And in Philadelphia, I think the last check, the number was 5,600. So 5,600 people in the city of Philadelphia alone. Um, that is a big number. That's more than half of the state's welfare recipients. And it's gonna be bad. And the plan, whether this is just my own opinion, I believe that in doing this, when the Republicans talk about welfare reform and they want to cut general assistance, um, and it's not coming out of nowhere because if you all remember, they did that big newspaper story about people selling their food stamps and to the bodegas, and you go in and you cash your stamps in, and all this whole kind of crazy stuff that was going on in that big newspaper article and that big television article that they did that on, and this is a result of it. And the people have abused the system. This is not for everybody. Everybody doesn't abuse the system. No, some people really actually need that money to survive, as minimum as it is. And so now, with it being cut because of the people that have abused the system so much, now what do people that really, really need that assistance? What are they going to do? Because there is no alternate plan. They're going to tell you to you should be involved in some welfare to work program. You should be involved in some get a part-time job. The economy is growing, and job growth and development is at is all-time high. Of course, you listen to Trump, everything is at all-time high. But the fact of the matter it is, yes, there is growth in the economy and jobs are out there. Uh, and like I told you a couple of months ago, people are going to be tested. You're going to have to be able to pass a drug test just to work at McDonald's or fast food, any fast food. So we really need to think about what's about to come. It's going to be here in a matter of weeks. These hard times are not going to get any easier. So we have to be diligent, we have to be careful, and we have to be prepared. Because and if they take you off today or tomorrow, which in some cases it's going to be for some people, what is your plan for survival? What are you going to do? Are you going to go out? I'm going to rob and steal and hurt the people that's just as broke as you are? That might be the plan for a lot of people. I don't know. But my suggestion is take advantage of these agencies that have these programs. Like I said before, I've said it a couple of months ago. Take advantage of these agencies that have these programs that helps you get back into school so that you can get an education. Stop using drugs. There's no room for vices anymore. And then if you can, just think about how much money you spend on getting high. Just take it and think about it. Just take a think about it. I guarantee you it's more than $20 a week. And if it is, you need to put that $20 in your refrigerator. All right, that's it for me. Hold on, Janelle. I'm you downstairs? All right, on the phone with my daughter. Okay, I'm on my live chat, so I'll be down there in a second. All right, okay. All right, bye. So sorry about that. That was my daughter. I can't not answer the phone. But yeah, we need to be prepared for what's coming, and we need to start looking for ways to better ourselves and eliminate these vices. You don't need to get high. Get high off of a full belly. Get high off of sleeping underneath a comfortable home with the people that you love. Get high off of that life, because this president is going to make it as miserable for us as possible. And if we don't learn to love and work together with one another, we're going to destroy ourselves. So with that, I thank you for your time. Please share this video. Get as much information from it as you can. And if you have any questions, please contact me on one of my social media pages. You have my number, you have my email. The website is under construction right now, but I just wanted to let you guys know I'm here if you need me. You'll be seeing more. Tune in, share, like, subscribe. Thanks for your time, and have a good night. God bless.